Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Money Matters. I am your host, Hung Lu. I'm with Cash Property Inc., and we will get going on today's episode of figuring out what your burn rate is, how long of a financial roadway do you have before things get really bad. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because we get into these cash flow negative states and really they could have been prevented. Like if we sort of have that foresight to plan ahead, then absolutely we can sort of put in things so that we never get into that negative cash flow state, or that we have to go and scrounge for funds at the last minute with bridging or anything like that. So a very timely and relevant topic, because I'm going through an eightplex build in Edmonton and we still have not gotten funding. Like it's insanely stressful. If you can imagine, like, this build is like $1.6 million, right? And funding still has not come in. And so I'm going to talk about the burn rates, the financial road, okay, so that hopefully this helps you in your situation. And of course, it doesn't need to be on these big ticket items. It can be on our smaller day-to-day living expenses too. And so I'll bring it down to that, the couple of $1,000s a month situation. Because I think if you can understand it at that level, then as the numbers get bigger, it also makes a lot of sense too. All right. So before we go into that, let me just share, because there is a fun event coming. Okay, and this is with the WDN group. It's the Wealth Development Network group that I'm a part of in Vancouver. So if you are local to Vancouver, this is an event that's coming up on December 3rd. So plenty of time to prepare, there's really no pressure to dress up for this. It's at the Cactus Club, which is a nice place, but you don't need to dress up. It's not that fancy. Just come as you are. Good food, good group of people chit-chatting. Yes, we talk about real estate and investing and all that stuff, but because it's Christmas, it's more social and so forth like that. So a great place if you've got young kids. I always try to bring my son to events like this because it's a great way for him to network, a great way for him to see, what his mom does for a living. So if you're in town, come out and join us at the Cactus Club. So this is December the 3rd. So we've got plenty of time for that. All right. And let me see. I think there was. Oh, yeah. So this face one, this Facebook one is really just getting into the topic for today. Okay. So, oh, well, I guess here, the other thing that I need to mention is our monthly mastermind. Okay. So we do have another session coming up. Okay, we are November the 10th, as we like to say. So we do have a monthly mastermind coming up on the third Friday of every month. So that's coming up not this week, but next week. So in 2 weeks. Okay. So here's the link for it. I'll put that in the chat. And please come and join us for our monthly mastermind. There's no greater place to get supportive help and meet other investors and just, grow your real estate portfolio. Okay, one of the best ways of making generational wealth and making sure that you have a legacy to leave behind. Okay, so let me go into, okay, yeah, so this is this beautiful eightplex that I'm building. Okay, and I say that with a grain of salt because if you look on the side here, there's this, my neighbor's house, and that's tiny in comparison to this monster that's being built up there. So, yeah, depending on how you look at these big new builds, it you may not like it, right? So I'm sort of sitting on the fence with that. So let's jump into the Excel sheet. Okay, because here's the thing. We at some point may run out of money. Okay. And if you know when that time is going to come, then you can prepare for it, plan it, and make sure that you actually never, ever run out of money, that you've always got sort of access to money to make sure that you're in a positive cash flowing situation every single month. Okay. So let's run through this and calculate out the burn rate here. Okay, this was something that I learned in my engineering days when we were, managing budgets for different oil and gas projects and my aerospace the company that I was working with in aerospace. And so one of the things that I've really honed in on is, okay, based on how much cash I have available to me through my HELOCs, through savings, through all of that stuff, based on the cash flow that I have coming in every month, whether it's an income like a 9 to 5 or other income, passive or, stocks or whatever, based on all of that income, minus all of my expenses, how much money do I have to live off of until things really go bad? Okay, so let's run an example here. Okay, let's run a good example. Okay, first I'm going to go put in 1800. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, so go back over here. So on the screen, you'll see the income is 2000. So this is where you put in what your income is. Okay, now we're not talking about pre-tax dollars here at all, because then that just complicates things. Okay, but the general idea is that you want to take your income, okay, and if you want to do pre-tax, that's fine. Stick to pre-taxes all the way through, or if you want to just use a general number, get the idea, and then go back and update the spreadsheet. Okay, so your monthly income is 2000. Your monthly expenses is 1800. So that means every single month you're making 2000. You've got an expense of 18. You have available cash. So this is money sitting in your savings account of $10,000. Okay. So how healthy is this? It's different for everybody. Okay. In the sense that, if you're making more money than you're spending every month, that's actually a good thing. Okay. Because you're making a profit. Like, so you're not digging yourself into a hole. Like, you are not in survivor mode here. Okay. Now, the thing is, though, are you actually part of your expenses here? Are you actually putting money towards savings and investments? If this is zero and you have this $200 difference, and then that's the money that you take to put into investments and savings, perfect. Okay. That's actually your 10% right there. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So now if you are making 2000 a month, but you're spending, let's say 2200 now, you're burning $200 a month. That means you're going in the hole by $200 a month. Okay, that is not a good thing. So that means your available cash here is going to be eaten away every single month because you don't have enough money. Like, your current income isn't enough to cover all your expenses. So in this small table here, you'll see, let me put this back to zero here. So you have 10,000 going in, like that's where your base is starting. You have 2,000 going in, 2,200 going out. So every single month you're losing $200. Okay. So you can see this ending balance is going down every single month. Okay. Now with this, you have 4 years of breathing space before something goes wrong. Okay. So 4 years is quite a bit of time. Okay. But this doesn't account for any unforeseen expenses that come up. Let's just say you lose your $2,000 of income. Okay. If you do, so let's just say complete zero, look at this. You now go to 0.4 of a year. Okay. So not very long. So, sorry. So I should look at this number here. Okay. So you basically have 4.5 months before you have no money. Okay. That to me is stressful. Like, thinking, oh my God, if I lost all my money and my monthly expenses was 2,200 and I only had $10,000 in my bank account, I would only have 4 months of breathing space. That to me is very, very stressful. Okay. And yes, you could increase this available cash and you could say, hey, you know what? I've got available money in a HELOC. I've got available money in a credit card. I could cash out my RSPs, TFSAs. Yes, you could do all that, but you really don't want to touch those things unless you really, really have to. Okay. So ideally, you build out this spreadsheet and you work around a situation where you're like, okay, worst case scenario. Okay. Absolutely worst case scenario, in 4.5 months, I'm not going to have any money. And so I need to do something now to make sure I have more buffer space. Okay. So hands down, one of the biggest things of knowing what your burn rate is so that you can be proactive in figuring out what you need to do. Okay. And what that needing to do is different for everybody. With me is stocks and real estate, right? Like those are the two ways that I know how to make money. Okay, so now I am going to put a disclaimer out here that yes, there's ways to make money so that you aren't stuck in this negative cash flow situation in 4.5 months. Okay, but that method of making money is different for everybody. So before you go and implement anything that I tell you, please, please, please double check with somebody else, bounce the ideas off. Even if you use ChatGPT, okay, just double check with somebody else to get another idea. Okay, so let's go back here. And so the reason why I brought up my eightplex build is because we still haven't gotten financing for that. So that means that if we want to progress that project, okay, to keep it going, we have to fund that with cash or with lines of credits, credit cards, all that stuff. Okay, so whatever available cash that we have available. Okay, and I've been very, very fortunate that I've got great boots on the ground. Dawn, hi Dawn. Okay, and then I also have a great builder, Uncle Franken Homes, amazing builder to work with. I can't thank them enough for them working with me on this the cash issue that I have, because I've been funding this project with cash until CMHC can step in and do the funding for me. Okay, so what happened here? So let's put in some numbers here to make it, relevant so that you could see what's going on here. Because in this scenario, so let's just say you're making $2,000. So we're going to go back to the 2000. You have a positive monthly burn rate, okay, meaning that you're saving money every single month. You're actually not losing money. Okay, that is a great situation to be in. But now here's the problem though, is that if you do get a big, massive expense, like on the eightplex build, we got a bill for like 150,000. Then we got another bill for 300,000. Okay, like it's just like it's mind blowing to me. Like I've never written checks that big before in my life. Okay, so imagine now. Okay, so everything's going good. You've got $200 coming in every month, and you're able to save, so forth like that. Now, if you have a big expense going out, okay, so let's just say now all of a sudden on your third month, you have $3,000 going out. Okay, now look at this, from 10,400, you now go down to 7,600. Okay, so now what is your burn rate on this? Okay, so this actually changes because it's so based on this number, like you can't tell that, right? Okay, but what we can calculate is, let's update this. So your burn rate, and we're gonna go, so your burn rate at this point is gonna be 0. So that doesn't make any sense, right? So we have this number divided by, nope, 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 nope. So it's still gonna be your 200. Okay, so your burn rate is still gonna be your 2,000 minus your 18, whoop. Okay, I'm gonna go here, equals 2,000 minus your 1,800 here. Okay, so your burn rate is a positive number, so there's no burn rate there. Okay, so but what we want to calculate is how long do I have to live based on this money that I have going in. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna say if this number, okay, is greater than 0, then your burn rate, like there's no burn rate. If it's greater than 0, then your burn rate is not burning. Okay. And then we're just going to close that off, put a 0 there so you could. So right now it's saying, well, you're not burning anything because you're actually in the positive every single month. Okay. Now the problem is that we are not going to be burning, because even down here, we're still going to be making that extra $200. Okay. So that's fine. But now what we want to know is, based on this $200, if we were to lose $200 every single month, oh, sorry, we're not losing 200, we're having $200 every single month. Well, how long can this last us, right? Well, because we're not burning, it's going to last us for a very long time. The problem is when it becomes a negative number. So let's just say now this number becomes, actually, we can go in and out based on this. So we're going to change that formula. So we're going to go to C17. C17 less C, no, we want E17, E17. So if that is E7, so C17 minus E17, if that's greater than 0, then we're not burning, right? We're actually making money, so that's good. So we can run this formula right down all the way through. Okay, so now the minute though that we're burning, then what we want to know is how long do we have before we're going to run out of money, right? So months to last. Okay, so at this point, we're not going to have any issues, right? So we take that divided by this number, we're going to get an error, okay? But here's where it's interesting. Okay, so let's run this all the way through. So you can see it's going to have an error all the way through because we're not burning anything right now. But let's just say now our expenses go up. Okay, and I'm going to do that up. Do I want to do it there? C4. Yeah, see, so I've got it over there. So now let's just say after we do this burn rate, we're at 7,000 here. Let's just say all of a sudden our burn rate now, sorry, our out is actually 2,200. So now we're actually losing money every month, okay? See, so now our burn rate is not just going to be that. It's going to actually be this number minus this number. So let's see if that gives us a number there. Okay, it gives us $200. So we're actually negative $200. Okay, so let's put the negative in there so that we can see that. Okay, so that means now we have months to last is going to be 37 months. Okay, which isn't that bad. Okay, so this is not a dollar number here. This is actually just a number. Okay, 37. So that means years. So sorry, I like to look at things in years. Ooh, so that I can, yeah, I can visualize things better in years, right? So to me, 3 years is an easier number to understand than 37 months. Okay, so that tells me that the minute that I go down to $200, I have 3 years to go. Okay, so now let's copy this all the way down. Okay, so now we're going to copy this formula all the way down, and we're going to copy this one here as well. Okay, so you can see that minute we go down here to, we're still negative 200 every single month. Now, why is that one not? Okay, so we're going to copy this one down. Okay, there we go. See, so as you can see, the minute that you go into the negatives every single month, look at this. By the time you go from your half the year to the 10th month, 10 month, you now have shaved off half a year. Like you're literally chewing away, like digging a deeper hole every single month, which is a huge problem. Okay, so I'm going to update these formulas here so that you can see. Yeah, so then that's fine. And we're going to go here. See, so the negatives here, these error messages just means that we're not burning anything. Like we're actually stable. We're actually making a little bit of money, a little bit of gains every month. So there's no issues there. But the minute that you have an emergency, the minute that your account goes into the negative, you actually start losing money significantly. So now I'm interested to see. So let's just say we actually don't burn any money for a couple of months. Okay, so then we're able to start saving again. And then the minute that you go into the negative, then that's when you start burning. Okay. And so this is really relevant because when you have a big project that you're working on and you get these big, massive bills, like from 10,000 to 3,000, that's a 30% like invoice, right? So 30% of your savings is literally going to go and cover this. Okay. And the minute that you go and do that, well, you take a huge chunk away from there. So now let's just say you are able to save every single month and that doesn't change. So there's no negative burning here. Like you're still able to slowly build up your reserves again. Okay, fantastic. But let's just say this 3,000 comes in and let's just say, 2 months later, you have this big this big bill again. Okay, well, look at that. You went from 7,600 down to 500. And then let's just say in another 2 months, you get another big bill. Okay, now you're down to 2,400. Now, if you follow my math here, you're going to know that if you happen to get another $3,000 invoice, well, now you're in the negative. Okay, so really your burn rate really depends on number one, making sure that your income is always greater than your expenses going out. So if you want to always have that long financial path, you want to make sure that your income is always greater than your out. Okay, and that whatever these big bills are that you have, just make sure that they're in manageable chunks that don't eat away at your entire pool of liquid cash or access to cash all in one go. You want to be able to sort of chip at that amount slowly if you can, build up your ending balance, build up your reserves again as quickly as you can, and then get back into starting to save and invest as you can again, where you can. Okay, so now look at this. So I'm going to copy this down because now that we're at a zero amount here, I want to see what that means. What that means, like what does that mean in a year or in a year and a half? Okay, so here we go. We're copying all that down. Okay. Whoa. So this is actually really interesting. So look at this. So at this point, we have negative 200 in the account. Okay. Because we've spent every single dollar, like this 10,000 that we had in our account, we've literally just spent it all covering whatever these emergencies that have stepped up. Okay. We're down to zero now. This is like an awful place to be at. But the very next month, we're able to save $200. That $200 keeps growing every single month. Okay. Now, of course, a year later, okay, we're just at the $2,000. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down and you can see. Okay, so does that give you a little bit of comfort space? Yeah, just a little bit, but not a ton. Like, look at this. Oh, I don't want one here. I want a zero there and a zero there. Okay, look at that. So once you reach that zero mark, and if you're only saving $200, like if you're only profiting $200 a month, it literally will take you another year to just save that 2,000, which makes sense because it's the $2,000 difference times your 10, 12 months. Okay. It gives you a little bit of breathing space, but it's not enough, right? Because the minute you get another big bill out, not enough. Okay. Because look, this $3,000 bill, if we got another $3,000 bill here, we'd be in the negatives, like massive negative. Okay. So let's put that in and see where that takes us. Okay. So look at that. So we're in the negatives and then it takes us forever to build back in. Okay. And then let's just say at this point, like, yeah, like if your expenses go up now to 2,200, let's just say, look at that. You like have no money, like you are scrounging. Okay. This is an awful position to be in. Okay. So now let's go back here and let's run the scenario here that you are losing money every single month to whatever, okay? Like if you have to cover an 8 flags or something, a big expense is coming up. So one of the ways to improve the situation is figuring out where to get more money, okay? How do you get more income? How do you get more money coming in every single month? How is the money that you have working for you, okay? Yeah, because it sucks when you're working for your money. Okay, so change that around. Your money should be working for you. All right, so let's figure this out. So let's just say we know that we have a $3,000 bill coming up. So we go and we figure out a way to get $3,000 coming in. Look at that. So now we're back at 3,000 coming in. So now we have 5,000 coming in. This 3,000 is still going to go out. Our 1,800 is still going to go out. But look at that. We're able to just maintain where we are and we're able to grow by 200 every single month. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we know that there's going to be another expense coming in this 3,000. Okay, and if you're like, Hung, how do we know that we're going to get these big expenses? You know, okay, like whether it's your property taxes, insurance, car stuff, like there's stuff that you know that is going to be coming. Okay. If it's an emergency, like, oh my God, like a health issue, you lose your job, okay, fine. That you just don't know about. But there are things that we do know about. So for example, on our eightplex build, we knew, like, because we worked with Franken Homes and we said to them, give me a rough timeline, roughly, break it down. And we even had a calendar, like a schedule roughly when you're going to come to us with these big invoices so that we can budget and plan when we're going to need to have cash available. Okay. So they gave us this sort of range and they said, okay, during this range, we're going to need 100,000. During this time frame, we're going to need another 100,000. During this time frame, we're going to need the 300,000. Okay. So there were months where like months leading to it that I knew, okay, during this time frame, I need to have that cash available. It's not, hey, you know what? Are they going to meet that schedule and be at that point? No, no. It was, this is going to happen. Make sure you have enough money. Even if the project's delayed, okay, I don't want it to be delayed because of me. Okay. So let's go in here. So now let's just say you figured a way to make your 3,000, okay, which is fantastic. Okay. So that goes up by 3,000. So now whenever you know that there's this expense coming up, you're going to have to figure out a way to repeat what you just did before to get this 3,000 or a new idea to get you the 3,000. Okay. So let's just say here I go in and I am able to make this 3,000 every single time I need it. Okay. So for every dollar that I know I'm going to have as this big chunk going out, I figure out a way to make it. Okay. So then just by doing that, you never burn yourself into a hole. You're maintaining your status quo and you're adding in your $200 every single month in this example. Okay. This is how you use the burn rate to figure out how long do you have until you have to actually like figure out something here. So if your income minus your expenses is in the positive and you don't have these unforeseen big projects like we do, okay, well then your burn rate is amazing because you're never going to burn out, right? You're always going to be able to sustain what you're doing. Okay. But if your income is less than your expenses, then that's when you want to figure out what your burn rate is. How long do you have? When do you need to start doing something creative, alternative, all of that stuff, all legal. Okay. Just make sure everything you do is legal. There's so many ways to make money legally that you don't need to do it illegally. Okay. So that is what I have for you today. Okay. My name is Hung Lu. If you want a copy of the spreadsheet, just send it to me. Now, if you're watching this all the way through, I would love to know what your burn rate is. Once you figure it out, okay, type it in the chat. Tell me, okay, what is your burn rate? Okay, and what amount are you comfortable? Like, what number is your comfort zone in terms of your burn rate? Because that's a different number for everybody. Like, there's some people I know they want at least a 1 year burn rate. Okay, like what I think Microsoft keeps 1 full years of salary like available money to cover all of the employees' salary for 1 year. Like that is a huge roadway for financial, like a financial road. Okay. So figure out what your burn rate is and then work to improve that so that you never ever go deeper in the hole. Okay. All right, everybody. My name is Hung Lu. I hope you have a fantastic week. Please, if you have any ideas for these sessions, please put them in and I will make sure that I build out a spreadsheet and give you some relevant pointers to take away with it. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful week.